acquisitions and cataloging. Good morning, Swans. Welcome to the Acquisitions and Cataloging Users Group. So today we are the Workflows Wizards. It is Thursday, February 23, 2023, and we are going. Next slide. So again, welcome. My name is Sarai Barrios. I will be your host throughout the entire presentation, along with our co-chair, MaryKellie Marquez from Warrenville. I am from Eisenhower Library. And a special welcome to the Bibliographic Services Manager, Cynthia Romanowski. Thank you. Applause. And would you like to say something, Cynthia?
Hi, I'm Cynthia Romanowski. I am new to SWAN, only 2.5 weeks here, and it's a pleasure being here today.
All righty. Well, welcome again. If you haven't, if you haven't seen her, you could always stay out after and, introduce yourself as well. Does anyone with the SWAN team like to introduce themselves as well? Vicky?
Yes. Yep, I think we all should. Hi, I'll start. I am one of the SWAN representatives, facilitators for this group. My name is Samantha Deedle. I'm a bibliographic services consultant. And with me today, we also have Vicki Totten. Do you want to go?
I didn't know who was going
Sorry.
first. Okay. I'm used to going last, V and T, very far down in the alphabet. So I'm Vicki Totten. I am also one of the facilitators for this group here at SWAN, and I am a consultant in the IT and system support department. And our other facilitator.
Hi, everyone. This is Claudia Nixon, Bibliographic Services Consultant. It's nice to be here with you guys. And we also have MaryKellie Marquez, which is another of the co-chairs of the Acquisitions and Cataloging Users Group. MaryKellie.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today.
All right, I think we got everyone, right? So, next slide. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, there you go. We want to hear from you. And so I think we have 2 weeks before each meeting. So this is in regards to the ACUG users group. And you can request topics, post them also on the forum. But make sure you verify that you have access. I don't know if does anyone not have access to the forum? If you like to chime in, or you can also leave a message in the chat, and MaryKellie or someone from the SWAN team can actually help you and guide you to get access. The forums are really good thing where you can go to the acquisitions, you can go to the cataloging users group. You can stay up to date as to the challenges and also current news that's happening within like that area of cataloging or acquisitions, or if you are interested in learning other challenges other departments are experiencing, that's also a good way to stay informed. So you can enter topics in the forum, and a week before, the agenda is posted on the support side.
And I can talk a little bit about the forums too, Sarai. The forums were actually created because library staff was asking for a place where they were basically looking for a listserv for email, and we weren't really able to keep that as up to date as it needed to be. So we started the forums so that library staff could talk with one another. it's a great place to just go out there and talk about things that you're doing, asking your peers questions, and we've seen a lot of great topics coming up on the forums. So if you don't have access to the forums, all you have to do is send an email to help@swanlibraries.net, and we will create a login for you, and you'll get an email with a link to go out and create your account. We do stress, though, that you need to make sure that your L2 account is up to date, because we do check for those before we create the accounts.
Now, just to add a little bit more, it's very important that everyone has an L2 account, because there's many ways to learn about our meeting dates. One of them being you can go to the L2 account calendar and check up all the acquisitions and cataloging users group meetings, by date, and the link is there. So if you for some reason you're working from home and you forgot to get the link, you can log into the L2 and get your link there. Also, Swan community forums are also another way for you to stay informed. All right. Does anyone want to chime in? MaryKellie?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. Better World Discovery and Thrift Books.
So I brought this to the presentation today because currently I know that Warrenville, as well as many other libraries, use Discover and Thrift Books, but it was brought to our attention that there's another company called Better World Books, where you can scan a title and they will scan the ISBN, and they will tell you whether or not they want it. And then you pack up the books and they send you a shipping label, and then you just send it off and then get money that way. Does anybody here that possibly use Better World Books? And if so, could you share any likes or dislikes, or how easy it is to use compared to Thrift Books, which does pay by the pound, and they provide huge rolling bins that we get 4 at a time at Warrenville. And then when they're full, we notify them that we need a pickup. So I was just wondering if anybody had used Better World and want to talk about it.
Hi, MaryKellie. Can you guys hear me?
Very softly.
I do not know what is going on with my headphones all of a sudden. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I've never used Discover or Thrift Books, but we do use Better World Books. Basically how they work, we get the discards from the selectors up in our department, and then we go through them to check them to make sure that they're acceptable to be resold. So if they're not, or they're damaged in any way, or the discs are really scratched in any way, we just either recycle or throw those out. The Better World Books, we do just cross out the barcode, and then they supply the boxes for us. We have a volunteer that comes in once a week and does that for us. And then when we have, I think our contract is that once you get 14 boxes, it's a minimum of 14 boxes. We print the UPS labels for it, put them on the boxes, and then UPS just comes and picks them up. But we don't get any money back from them, nothing like that. But they do supply the boxes and the shipping as well. They don't take any audiovisual though. They just changed that in their contract. So we've been giving those to the friends.
And just out of curiosity, I know that Discover Thrift Books had stopped taking AV. Does Better World take any AV items from you, or is it just books?
They just changed that in their contract. They no longer take any type of AV.
Okay. Okay. If anybody else wants to chime in, feel free.
MaryKellie, this is Cynthia. At my last institution, we used Better World Books as well. And it was coordinated through somebody else. And we gave them a lot of donation stuff versus what we withdrew. But when I was at ALA in DC, we were using Discover just before I left my institution. And they actually gave me something in which you can now scan what is useful to them. I forgot what they called it, but it was done through our circulation. As head of tech services, my job was just withdrawing. And then I would choose stuff that I thought would be useful within the perimeters that our circulation person had discussed with Discover. But basically they didn't take any encyclopedias or anything, but they did, like, they do have that option now where you can check what item would be of value to them. At least that's what the guy was telling me at ALA. I wish I could remember what it was called, but what he was saying, but I do know that they are saying they do have that option now. So I wasn't sure if you were aware of that.
No, that's good to know. And we also donate our non reference children's books to Bernie's Book Bank. They just as donations for underserved populations in the Chicagoland area. They come and do a pickup depending on how frequently our youth books get withdrawn. And we don't get anything for that either, but Discover Books I know does provide a minimal amount per pound for each load that they come, but I didn't know if Better World would be a better option. And I see in the chat that Rebecca from LaGrange said that they use Discover Books there, that they used to use Better World Books many years ago, but they stopped because they had to scan each individual barcode. And then Stephen said that we use Better World Books, but the amount of boxes we had to handle became cumbersome, and now they use Thrift Books. So thank you, everybody. I
Yeah,
appreciate
have
that.
to say with Better World Books, I've never had to scan any ISBN. I mean, they do have a list of things that they won't take, like computer books, encyclopedias, college admissions, things like that. But we don't, as long as we check the book, like I said, we do have a volunteer that does it. So it is a little time consuming, but we do have a volunteer that checks the book to make sure that it's not stained or falling apart, and then we just box it up. But we don't scan any barcodes for Better World Books.
MaryKellie?
Yes.
This is Amy at Woodridge. Can you write in information about that Bernie's
Book Bank?
Yeah.
Yes, I will put it in the chat. I will grab it right now and I will put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Amy Collier, or Carol Collier, pardon me, is our contact. I believe she's the contact for this area, so I'm assuming she would do Woodridge as well, but I will put her contact information in the chat.
Okay, well, if anyone has any suggestions, any other organizations that do take books, like, you can send us an email to the co-chairs or even Swan, or you could even post it on the chat. I think just sharing information about other resources that might benefit from our books that are withdrawn would be such a wonderful thing, especially under those underserved populations, which would totally benefit from it. Okay, so
You can also add to the forum any information you have about other organizations or other ideas on what to do with discarded books.
very good, Claudia. I like that. I like that. Yeah, I think that the more we we can post in this forum. It's like, it's really a good way to share ideas, information, stay up to date, and also like find solutions to those challenges we go through every day.
Mary
So-
Kelly,
Yes.
the app that he was telling me about was called Piggy Book. I knew it was Piggy something, but I was like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. So it's called Piggy Book.
Okay,
One word.
piggy book.
Yes.
Okay. Does anyone use PickyBook by any chance?
We can move on. I just wanted to bring it up because someone had brought that to our attention, and I know that we actually just we had a huge amount, because we do 4 bins at a time. We had a huge amount of AV when we got the notice through the listserv that Discover Thrift Books was no longer taking AV items. Fortunately for us, the very nice people at Earlville Library saw that we had items that we were withdrawing, and they volunteered to take our withdrawn AV items. So we were able to donate to them like 12 boxes, mostly of audiobooks and kids movies, but it was still nice that they're going on to a new life. So that's, I guess, another place to put it up in the listserv if you have anything you're wanting to get rid of that another library could possibly use.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mary Kelly. And for anyone who chimed in.
There's a comment in the chat about those programs. Joy from Tinley added that Baker and Taylor has a program too. If she remembers correctly, you send them a list of ISBNs and they have you separate them into sellable and not sellable boxes. They send you a prepaid label to send them. Tinley Park has not used this service. And she also mentions that Goodwill will take good condition AV materials. All right, so I guess this is my slide. I know you are all familiar with the SWAN local tags, the 590, 946, and 977. But we keep finding records missing these tags or with incorrect terminology or format. So I would like to give you a little refresh on the SWAN's local tags. The 590, the format tag, required for all formats except regular print books. It has a very specific terminology, all in caps. And I want to remind you that adding incorrect terms or the lack of a 590 tag where there should be one may impact discovery in the public catalog. I added a link to the 590 format page documentation on the sports site if you want to take a look. Then we have the 946, the signature tag, which is the library 3-letter code, your initials, and the date in the year, month, and day format. It is a required tag for pre-cats and fully cataloged records. And we recommend the format entering the 946 signature, and like my example, the library 3-letter code all in caps, then your initials all in caps, and the date, year, month, and day, like that. Standardizing the 946 tag allows you to run reports of this tag. So if you ever want to know, oh, how many records did I catalog in the last 6 months? We can run a report off that tag as long as the 946 tag is always the same. If you standardize that tag, that can be useful in the future. Sometimes people send in emails to me or tickets, hey, such and such libraries does not have the correct 946 signature tag. This is a recommendation in case you ever want to run a report. So, but I'm not going to pull your ear if you don't do all in caps and the date that way. But I highly recommend standardizing the tag. Also, we have the 977, the pre-cat tag that you're very familiar with, and it's part of our local tags. It means that the record needs to be overlaid with a full OCLC record by SWAN or one of the cataloging libraries. It's very important to remember that vendor records must have the 590 when applicable, except for regular print books, and the 977 tag. So when you set up a new vendor, make sure these tags are included in the grid. Any questions or concerns about the SWAN local tags? I guess not. So we can move on, please.
Yes, of course. Yeah, just for recap, standardization is always key. It helps with when pulling reports. So thank you so much, Claudia.
All right, another thing I would like to just refresh. It's the DVD box sets that they must circulate as a complete set with a single barcode. Box sets should not be broken apart into multiple discs. Call numbers may contain the season information as long as it is not in the volume area analytic of the call number. Then I put an example of a correct call number of a DVD box set. The season is in the call number, but it doesn't have the analytical Z. And then you can see the incorrect example. It has the analytical Z when there shouldn't be one. And if you put the analytical Z in the DVD box set record where there shouldn't be a Z, patrons place holds expecting to receive the entire set. So if you split, let's say season 6, it's 6 discs, and you split 1 to 3 and then 3 to 6, and a patron places a hold and he gets only the 3 to 6, he'll get really unhappy about it. So we get complaints from libraries when they find split box sets in a box set record. And also holds get stuck on call numbers with a Z if the other call numbers do not have a Z. So, but some libraries, I understand, they still want to split the box sets. We highly recommend not to split, but if you want to do that, the items cannot be in the box set record. So you have to create separate records for your split parts. I put a link to the documentation there, and if you have questions, send a ticket or email and let us know. Also, if you run into records that shouldn't have split parts in the box set, let us know as well, and we'll get in touch with the library.
Oh, Claudia, I think something I would like to add with box sets. I mean, I would like to ask our members who are here with us today how, because I think one of the big things is the reason for the splits is the cases. I mean, how many has anyone have experience like just with the cases they're just very fragile? Have you guys been keeping up with just keeping the whole complete set in like one case? Any challenges there for any one of you?
I understand there are challenges with the box. Like you said, sometimes you have to buy a special box or the containers too fragile. So I think the forum is a great way to bring up these concerns and ask your other libraries, what do you do with the DVD box sets? We would like to circulate them together, but we don't have the boxes. Where do you buy them from? What is the cost? So the forums are a great way to exchange ideas and information about these types of things.
So great thing to add to the forum. So we will move on if no one has anything to ask.
I have wonderful news for everyone. Okay, we know that we have been struggling with our Book X12 invoice reports since we have gone live with Symphony Workflows. The report was not set up at all very well at all for a consortium. So there was no way to take the reports and just have it find the invoices for individual libraries. Well, after working with Sarai Barrios, they were able to give us a custom report where we can choose vendors. And in the vendor selection tab, we can now limit to library. So we tested this custom report with a couple libraries, and we're very happy to say that it is working wonderfully. The reports take 1 to 2 minutes, if that. So, some of the reports were running in less than a minute. And we will be contacting all of your libraries to get you set up with the new report. So with this, we know that as we run this report, the delivered report, it always had a status of error, and that's because it was trying to load every single invoice, regardless of whether it was for your library or not. So now that we can choose this, it will not have that automatic status of error. If it does have an error status, then it's something that we need to take a look at. And it's just wasn't able to load that invoice. This also did give us the opportunity to allow for libraries that have different processing fee funds. So we have that handling fund ID and the tax tab that are in the report. And we were able to set up 2 separate reports for this library, and they have reported that it is running wonderfully. They no longer have to use just like the main fund and then go in to the one individual vendor and update that handling fund. So we will be in touch with you soon, and we'll help you to configure that report template and help you to schedule it if you need help with that.
Vicki, we had a question from Rebecca in the chat. If you don't want to select individual vendors and just bring in all vendor invoices all at once, is that okay? And the answer is yes, that is okay. And actually, that would be most likely what we would prefer you to do. So this vendor selection tab allows you to identify your library. And so if you want to bring in all vendor files, that's of course fewer reports running. So that's great. In the case where Vicki was mentioning where you want to identify specific shipping funds or something like that, which is what we tested with Glen Ellen, which Anne Marie is saying worked wonderfully, they can do that as well. So I think when we contact each library individually, we'll be doing those sort of consultations to see what fit you need. And that's why we don't want to set it up for everybody without talking with you all. But yes, running it, short answer, running it for just your library and all vendor invoices would probably be the default setting. And Vicki, please correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you are correct. The other library that we tested with only has 1 report running. They've only identified their library, and it is successfully bringing in all of their invoices.
This is Amy at Woodridge. So does that mean that this would solve Baker and Taylor's thing where we have to always edit the extended price if on processed books?
Oh, are you prorating? Is that what you're doing, or?
No, when we get it, the invoices through EDI, we always have to put in the processing charges on the books. We have to modify the invoice, every line of the invoice for processed items.
Okay.
Amy, is your shipping coming in? It's that your processing and the value added service kind of stuff is not?
Correct.
Okay, so that I believe LaGrange is having the same problem, and we're investigating that right now. So I'm going to make a note to get in touch with you because that is separate from
Okay.
this.
Okay.
But I'm really thank you
for
for
the last
mentioning
8
that.
years.
Yeah.
It's only been 8 years that we've been working on.
Right. I think it's the limitations of the EDI formatting itself. But I know that we've talked with Sarai Barrios about this in the past too, but yeah,
We have, and I have
Mhm.
an active case right now with good raw X12 data that Rebecca was able to give us as well, and we can pull it anytime from our server, of course. So they have all the information they need, and if we can get a solution, I'm hopeful that this is when it will happen. So I will definitely update everyone, and probably that might be a good thing for the forums. But now that I know you're specifically having the problem too, Amy, I've written you down.
If anyone else is doing that, let us know. Okay, the other thing that we're going to talk about is a change that we have suggested for acquisitions rollovers. Our documentation on the support site, we've updated it. We're recommending that libraries fill in that number of copies funded to be greater than 0. We did experience some issues with orders rolling over in the past rollover season. I'll call it a season because it is a season, isn't it? Where orders that were no longer funded were rolled over, and meaning no longer funded, meaning that they were no longer encumbered. So it's a little frustrating that Cersei Dynex uses two different terms here. So funded equals encumbered. And by adjusting your reports to this setting here, greater than 0, that will make sure that non-funded orders will not roll over, and we're not going to have issues with double orders or something that is actually already filled rolling over. Does anybody have any questions about this? You can definitely reach out to us. We can help you go through your report template and make sure you're set before your next rollover.
I might want to add that there's also that tickets option where you can send a ticket if you have any other issues as well.
Correct. And part of the documentation for rollovers, we do ask that you open a ticket and let us know when you're planning on doing your rollover. And that way we can make sure that we're ready for you.
Amazing, very amazing. All right. So we have create control wizard, properties and serial control.
Yes, so I wanted to give everyone a little bit of a reminder to check your property settings. So before I get into the details, we had discovered that there were some periodical items that were on periodical titles that appeared to belong to SWS as a library. And after investigating, it was because some libraries had control records that were configured incorrectly. So if you worked in serial control in your library, you know that in the control record, there is a distribution tab. And in that distribution tab sits your holding code. Some libraries, it looks like their settings are defaulting to select the default holding code, which you can see in that screenshot. It says default, all in one word, all caps. That is actually just a delivered Cersei Dynex holding code that means nothing in the system. And if you are using that, it will create an item that belongs to the SWS library and not your own. So I did a little digging and I looked at some of the property settings for libraries, and it looks like some libraries are just still configured to default to this holding code in your properties. So if you don't remember what properties are, you can right click on any wizard and you will see properties as an option to select. That is for pretty much any wizard in workflows. And you can set your default values that will be saved for your library. So you might want to take a look at the default properties for your create control wizard and update that holding code setting that you can see in that screenshot to one of your valid holding codes that belongs to your library. The alternative is just changing it every time, but who wants to do that, right? Who wants more clicks? So you can do this locally at each workstation in your library, or if you find that this is happening and how often do you create a control, so it happens once in a while and you're like, why is this happening? If you want us to set it for all of the workstations in your library, so all of your logins, we can do that globally from Swan here as well. And you would make that request by sending in a ticket like you're used to at help@swanlibraries.net. So just a friendly reminder to check your settings and see if they're configured properly to save you a couple clicks. Any questions about that?
Okay. Thank you so much, Sam, for all
Yeah.
this information.
No problem.
So online self-paced new courses, totally recommend these. And I know Claudia, she has all the information on this.
Actually, Crystal and I work on these courses, and Dawn as well. Before she retired, she created the demand management, the holds daily processing, and resource sharing in Swan. So those are 3 new self-paced courses. As a reminder, to access these courses, we always verify your library affiliation in L2 before we approve your account. And you have to create an account with Swan Online Learning. I put the link there, but you also find the link on the support site under, I should have this ready, under meetings and trainings, Swan Online Learning. We can go to the next slide. Sorry, thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I just want to remind everyone, you know, if you don't have the L2, we're here right now. You can post in the chat. We'll get someone from Swan to help you. But if anything, just submit a ticket and we'll help you get that set up. All right.
And just an update on the online learning system, we have 13 courses in circulation and technical services, which includes cataloging and serials. We have a total of 287 users, so that's awesome. And enrollment statistics, a total of 633 courses were taken, and there are currently 189 people enrolled in courses out of the 287 active users. And any feedback on the courses, any suggestions are always very welcome. You can email me, claudia@swanlibraries.net, or crystal@swanlibraries.net, or submit a ticket via the ticket system with suggestions if you like, dislike. And yeah, I hope everybody has a chance to take a look at the courses.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Claudia and Crystal, thank you so much for creating these wonderful supports for all, you know, staff and librarians also alike. But like she said, if you have any suggestions, just submit a ticket or reach out to them. I think that, you know, these are wonderful courses. And if, you know, you have new staff, that's something else that, you know, you might not have that local stuff that, you know, pertaining your specific library, but I believe that it covers a lot of the stuff that we even cover here right now, up-to-date stuff. So totally recommend. And we have reached the end of our presentation. Your host, Sarai Barrios, and also MaryKellie from Warrenville. She is a co-chair. With us today is Samantha Dito, our consultant in bibliographic services, Claudia Nixon, our consultant in bibliographic services, Vicky Toden. She is our consultant in information and technology systems and support. And new with us, Cynthia Romanowski, our bibliographic services manager. They are very cool people. So, you know, reach out to them, email them, send a ticket. They will respond very fast. I can tell you that. And stay tuned for our next meetings. Our next meetings are May 11th and September 14th of this year at 9:30 a.m. So put that in your calendars. If you have any suggestions for topics that you really want to talk about, post it in the forum. We, me and my co-chair, we do, we go on the forum and we check out what are the challenges for you guys and how we can better address them. But if my co-chair has anything else to add, that would be great as well.
I just wanted to thank everybody for joining us today and to let Amy and anyone else who is interested know that I did put Carol Collier's direct contact as well as information for Bernie's Book Bank in the chat. Feel free to reach out to her. Tell her that I sent them your way, and that I would say a shout out to Downers Grove, because that is where I first learned about Bernie's Book Bank. So thank you to them. And I know that Carol thanks you on behalf of the children in the Chicagoland area. So please reach out to Bertney's Book Bank with any children's book donations.
Before we stop the recording, I want to ask a question that was entered into the chat. The person who asked had to leave, so I want her to be able to listen to your responses. She is asking if libraries have had any experience processing Tony Box audio player and what they are using to circulate the individual characters. Anything specific on how to create a pre-cat. So I never heard of Tony Box audio player, so I went on Amazon and took a look, and I'm going to add into the chat a link to that so you guys can take a look. And if anyone is buying these items to circulate, if you can comment or enter into the chat, and we'll let Susanna know your response.
It's really cute.
It's really cute. So
Hi. Oh, sorry. Anne-Marie here or Rec on. We are actually just in the process of
you're very
Okay.
faint, Anne-Marie. Can you speak up just a little bit?
I do not know what is wrong with
Sorry.
my headphones. I'm gonna have to get IT, get me a new set, I guess.
That's better.
Okay. We are in the process of adding 3 Tonys to our collection.
Mhm.
Basically, we are treating them like our play packs, so they are just in black backpacks. However, I do know that if you go to Amazon, that you can actually get specific containers for Tonys and the characters.
Okay.
As for the records, how these work is you can decide what characters you want for each Tony. So we decided to buy 3 Tonys, and each Tony will have 3 characters that was chosen by the selector. So how we're going to do the records is we're going to treat them like our library of things and catalog them as marked online type records.
Okay, it's a good idea. Use it, treat them as library of things. As far as the 590, are you going to use other audio?
Yes.
Okay, it looks like every character tells a story or something, right? As I was,
You can either
yeah.
have a story or you can have songs. Some are bilingual or just in a different language. Like we have one that actually has a Spanish character. It's actually very cute. The way we set them up is we have one account through Glen Ellen. So the account is all set up, and therefore there's nothing that the member needs to do when they bring it home. So they don't have to set anything up. They just plug it in and they can just listen to music or stories. However, I would suggest somewhere in the item record to put, what is it? I'm looking at my notes here. I was actually going to work on these today. We decided. Oh, we decided to add to the item number in the notes field. The Tony Box ID for the staff to have that ID number for each Tony Box in case we need to brick it.
Okay, this is all good information. I see that you entered already some pre-cats for it, right?
They should be in there.
I'm going to put onto the chat 2 examples of the pre-cats. So
Oh, and we use the 590 of toys and games because that's what we use for our play pack.
okay. So I'm going to put an example that Bloomingdale created, and I'll get a couple viewers, Anne-Marie. And Crate is saying that they also created records for those. Okay.
And Rebecca put in the chat that they were going to start purchasing them in their new fiscal year.
Yeah, so they are very cute. They might become very popular. Thank you for all this information, Anne Marie.
Anne Marie, I have a quick question for you. You said in case staff need to brick it. Do you want to talk about that a little more? You're talking about like you can do with your hotspot, you can kind of turn it off. Is
Yes,
that correct?
yes. So like with our hotspots, we do have under the items, extended information, there's a staff note. And so we put information like that in there in order to shut down either the hotspot or anything that's working on an account if it's not returned. So that way it basically becomes unusable for the member. And we just, you know, cut it as a loss then. But at least they just can't keep it and keep using it.
It's great that you're able to do that with these as well then.
Yeah, so we had to figure that out with our hotspots. I know our IT department was very concerned that if the hotspot didn't come back, how would we know the specific information for that item to brick it and so that otherwise somebody could have a hotspot and just be using it for years to come. So we had to figure that out, and we decided to use the staff notes in the extended information under the item.
Great. I also want to, before we stop the recording, mention one small thing. We had a, this wasn't on the agenda, but we had a Blue Cloud staff update that went into effect today, and it did affect acquisitions in one very, very minor way. We will have a news post about it, but since we have MaryKellie here, and I know she's a Blue Cloud acquisitions user, it's relevant to this group. So all that was updated is that orders that previously had a status of completed, the term is now closed. So it's just a label change, but that will be, we will be updating documents and putting out a news post about that and some updates that also affected Blue Cloud circulation. And so I wanted to mention that here and also give everyone an opportunity. I think our last agenda item is open discussion. So does anyone else have anything else before we wrap up today that they wanted to bring to this group?